Did you know? The idea for Chrono Trigger came to Hironobu Sakaguchi during a trip to the United States. Sakaguchi, who was traveling with Yuji Horii and Akira Toriyama for graphics research, wanted to create a game that was something completely new. This new game was planned as the start of a franchise, which gave the team more creative freedom than if they were working on a new Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy title. They ultimately decided to make Chrono Trigger stand out by balancing dark and more lighthearted story elements. Dreams were a recurring element throughout the development of Chrono Trigger. The game's development nickname was the Dream Project, referencing the name of one of the game's endings where the player could meet the game's developers. The heads of the game's development team were even known as the Dream Team, comprised of Hironobu Sakaguchi, Akira Toriyama, Yuji Horii, Nobuo Uematsu, and Kazuhiko Aoki. These five are the last developers encountered in the Dream Project ending. Yasunori Mitsuda also told OneUp.com that he based much of the soundtrack on melodies he heard in his dreams. The ending theme in particular was composed from a number of dream melodies. Mitsuda worked so intensely on the game's soundtrack that he developed a stomach ulcer, requiring Nobuo Uematsu's help in order to finish the job. The team thought that a party of entirely human characters wasn't very exciting and wanted to add an animal as a party member. The team went through a few possible ideas, including a monkey and a pig. Toriyama overheard the debacle and handed in a concept for a frog party member, a concept that stuck with the team. After Chrono Trigger's release in Japan, a player's guide containing the concept art of each party member was published. While Chrono, Luca, and Frog stayed faithful to the original designs, Magus went through a few different armor designs. Marley also had what the guide described as a Robin Hood-esque appearance early in production. Robo was redesigned to appear more human, and Ayla didn't originally have curly hair. Also included was a character simply named Old Man, implying that Gaspar might have originally been intended to be a party member during the early stages of development. There are a few interesting pieces of unused data in Chrono Trigger, with the most famous being 2 pieces of unused music. The music was published on the game's official soundtrack and includes a secondary battle theme, as well as a theme for an unused dungeon called Singing Mountain. The dungeon was planned to be explored between defeating Magus at Fiend Lord's Keep and exploring the Tyranno Lair, and it would have existed in prehistory. Singing Mountain consisted of waterfalls on the outside and lava caves on the inside, though the dungeon's purpose is unknown. In an interview with Procyon Studio, Yasunori Mitsuda stated, "There was a dungeon where that song was used, but because the dungeon didn't contain much and there were no conflicts or anything that advanced the game, it was cut. So inevitably, the song was cut with it." 6 unused enemies exist within Chrono Trigger's code, though each of these sprites are used outside of battle on at least one occasion. If hacked into the game, most of these enemies do not have proper stats and will either do nothing at all or resort to normal attacks. Interestingly, one of the unused enemies is the robotic biker Johnny. He's unique in that he has an actual stat build, indicating that Johnny may have been intended as a boss. Like many games of its time, Chrono Trigger's cartridge contained hardware to detract players from using pirated games. If the game detected that it was a bootlegged copy, it would lock the game whenever the player attempted to travel through time. This left the game on an infinitely looping time travel animation, rendering it impossible to play. The same method of anti-piracy was even reused in the DS remake. Chrono Trigger's English translation made an interesting number of changes to the game. The name of Magus's henchmen were Soyasu, Mayonnaise, and Vinegar in the Japanese version, referencing the condiments soy sauce, mayonnaise, and vinegar. These were changed to Slash, Flea, and Ozzy in the English game. The names are allusions to rock and roll musicians Saul Slash Hudson of Guns N' Roses, Michael Flea Balzery of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and John Michael Ozzy Osbourne of Black Sabbath. Another significant difference is that Frog's personality was changed dramatically from the Japanese version, where he didn't have his signature old-fashioned speech pattern, instead speaking in a much more direct and daring manner. One of the attractions at the Millennial Fair, Norstein Beckler's Tent of Horrors, contains a few notable references. Upon entering the tent, Beckler greets the party with a laugh that sounds remarkably similar to Kefka Palazzo's iconic laugh from Final Fantasy VI. 2 of Beckler's attendants, Biggs and Wedge, are also references to Final Fantasy VI, with the pair being named after 2 playable soldiers seen in the game's prologue. Biggs and Wedge's names, alongside Beckler's third attendant Piet, are also a reference to Star Wars. They're taken from the characters Biggs Darklighter, Wedge Antilles, and Admiral Piet. Chrono Trigger and its sequel, Chrono Cross, were originally planned to have a stronger connection to each other. One example can be seen with the character Guile. Guile was originally intended to be Magus, but was redesigned to look less and less like him. In an interview with GamePro, Masato Kato stated that Chrono Cross's large number of playable characters made it impossible to portray Magus' relationship with Shala. Despite this, the DS remake of Chrono Trigger included a new ending where Magus discards his memory, only knowing that he's searching the land for something unspecified, similar to Guile's constant searching for mysteries. A game that expanded on the story of Chrono Trigger, named Radical Dreamers, released on the Super Famicom's Satellaview service in 1996. Masato Kato wasn't happy with how the game turned out, however, and even called it unfinished. A desire to redo Radical Dreamers properly was actually what sparked the development of Chrono Cross. Chrono Trigger is considered by many to be one of Square's greatest games, inspiring a number of fan-made sequels and ROM hacks, as well as Chrono Resurrection, a 3D remake of Chrono Trigger. Development of Chrono Resurrection began in 1999, but the project attracted a great deal of attention when the project was revealed to the public shortly before E3 2004. Square issued a cease and desist order, shutting the project down just shy of its release. Fans protested, even demanding that Square Enix greenlight the remake, but Square Enix refused to change their decision. Though little is known about it, there may have been another Chrono series title in development. In 2001, Square Company registered the trademark Chrono Break. There's been no official comment on the trademark, but some developers have spoken about the possibility of another entry in the series. At E3 2003, veteran Square developer Hironobu Sakaguchi stated that Final Fantasy XI was taking up all their time, and they had no resources to delegate to another Chrono game at the time. And in 2005, director Takashi Tokita spoke about the possibility of a direct Chrono Trigger sequel. At a 2014 PAX Prime panel, Sakaguchi said that he intended to continue the Chrono series with another game, but problems with Square Enix management prevented it from coming to fruition. Don't forget to subscribe to Did You Know Gaming for more facts and trivia. Before you go, we'd like you to vote on what you want to see covered in the future video. A video on Bravely Default, or a video on the Tales of series. You can also vote by leaving a comment below. And hey, if you like Chrono Trigger but you've always wondered why it's so good, well, you can watch my video on it. I dissect it and try to put our thoughts and feelings into precise words. Even if you don't like Chrono Trigger, you should watch it so you can find out why it's so good. Don't worry, there's no spoilers. It's such a good game.